Hello and welcome to another episode of the No Censorship podcast with James and Megan. Episode 3. I'm really excited that we've got this far. And I just want to say to every single listener out there, today we hit 1,200 total listens and we hit over 50 followers. So thank you so much for your support so far. It means a lot to us. Keep your feedback coming. Based on the feedback we've got so far, we're changing up the format a little bit. So we thought you didn't want to hear us yapping too much. We thought maybe you wanted a little bit of research. Turns out you actually do want to hear us yap a little bit, show a bit more of our, I don't know, what's the word you would call it, Megan? Probably personality is a good word.
Yeah, let's say that.
We're still going to have the same topics going to be discussed, but like I said, the format's changing. So for today's episode, we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're going to be talking about AI and the future of technology, and we're breaking it up into 3 different segments. The first segment is I have 3 hot takes that Megan has not seen. Vice versa, Megan has some hot takes I haven't seen. And then to wrap it all up, we're going to be doing a community segment where our friends and you, the listeners, have sent us a couple AI hot takes that you want us to read out, and neither of us have seen them. So you might be thinking, how have you printed them off? How have you got them if you haven't seen what they are? Great question. My girlfriend has prepared them for us. I've got them in this little piece of paper. I promise I have not looked at them. Neither has Megan. So, to kick things off, Megan, do you want me to start or do you want to start?
I think that you can continue to have the floor and kick us off.
All right. I'll read my hot take out and let's see where this goes. Got them on my handy dandy computer over here. So, hot take number 1. AI deepfakes have made it impossible to prove whether someone did something, said something, or was even there. Which sounds terrifying until you realize that powerful people have been saying, that wasn't me, and getting away with it long before the technology existed to make it believable. AI didn't create the alibi, it just made it available to everyone.
Scary stuff. Yeah, I mean, very interesting because I have a very, very similar one to this, which we'll go into a little bit later. But
Okay.
I have seen so much of this on social media, especially, and one that comes to mind, pop culture reference. Sorry, I know we're going into a bit of a serious topic, but big one that comes to my mind that was trending was, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but did you see all the drama around Brooklyn Beckham and Victoria Beckham and his wedding?
Yeah, I did. And I saw that there was some AI clips of them dancing and doing some weird cringe stuff. So it was pretty funny,
Yeah,
but I honestly didn't pay too much attention about it. So yeah, don't really know what you're talking about, but I did see some of the cringe clips.
the reason I bring that up as an example was some of the content that came out of this that AI generated was absolutely insane and bang on accurate to the point where I was terrified thinking that it was real. And it's scary because obviously all of these celebrities are so much in the limelight and have so much of the spotlight, so many photos of them from different angles. So AI is able to generate what they would look like in 3D. And therefore, all of these photos that came out were scaringly accurate of what they would look like. And I know probably not the best kind of example, but I'm sure that will open to the doors for a few examples that you have that go into a little bit more in that crime area, or when someone's here and someone's not and getting away with certain kind of crime. But yeah, I mean, that was the first example that came to my head that I thought, what the hell? This is scary, how accurate this is. And I almost wonder how much of ourselves is out there if we asked AI to generate something of us.
Yeah, I think we're getting into a scary, maybe false reality of what could potentially happen. When I thought of this hot take, I was thinking about it from the perspective of what it would look like for crimes moving forward. And particular thing I've been seeing a lot lately, and I'm sure other people have too, is the White House social media account is notorious for all of this AI deepfake rubbish. And it's got me questioning whether there's a lot of propaganda that could be used to be created here and the dangers of what could follow. And the other aspect to it is so many people are falling for AI generated content. I initially thought I would never fall for it because you can tell. But there are so many times where I'm scrolling and I'm seeing something and I have to do a double take or a triple take and go, hang on, this looks so authentic. It's scary. The one thing I want to touch on here is powerful people have been saying that wasn't me and getting away for it so long. And as a prime example, who's in the news the most at the moment? Former Prince Andrew. So,
Mhm.
not saying that other people can commit a crime and then edit it. I'm sure that's probably going to happen within the next 10 years, and that's going to be scary to see. True crime lovers are going to eat that shit up. But I just wonder what it's going to look like from an investigation point of view. Because if someone can say that wasn't me doing this on a camera at a nightclub, who's to say that it wasn't then if you can't prove it? So that's a scary line that I think we're going to cross.
That's a really interesting one because I think it's going to get scary when we are in that realm of, oh, but I wasn't there. That was AI generated. Oh, well, it's obvious that isn't real because you're right. We scroll constantly and we see all these things on our newsfeed. Another thing that comes to my mind, and this is probably taking AI to a whole different level, is that scam that went around and it probably still exists, but I remember the height of it maybe when AI first came out was people getting text messages, more predominantly parents, thinking whether it's WhatsApp, whether it's text messages, even like phone calls, and AI generating people's voices, basically saying that they need help and they need money, and they're calling or
Mm,
texting off another phone. And so, I mean, that
yeah, I
goes a little bit.
remember this.
Yeah. So that goes a bit into your point on like crime and AI and how scary it is because I mean, I don't know about you, but my God bless my parents getting a little bit older and they're probably not as in touch with technology as maybe we are. They probably don't scroll on social media as much as we are to be up to date with news and when things come out like this. And they would look out for us if we were to send them a text message like this. So I can see how people, especially when people reap on the elderly, would fall for something like this. And it's really sad and it's really scary. And I actually don't know what we can do to help it or make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen. To your point on Prince Andrew, and when footage comes out or AI kind of puts claims on people, what do we do in a situation like that when someone says, "Well, it was AI, it wasn't me," when we maybe know that they're wrong?
Yeah, well, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is what if someone posts the reverse, where they didn't actually do the crime and someone created an AI video of them doing something, and then they could use
Mm.
that as a smear campaign. I think, we're online now, and that's the last thing that I would want because it's getting harder and harder to prove. And I don't know if the governments are keeping up with the regulations fast enough, to be honest. Initially, I thought maybe you could have a watermark or something, but these platforms are getting smarter. And I think if you pay a certain amount of money or you pay a subscription, depending on the platform you're using, you can remove the watermark. It's scary to know that this is technically as bad as it is right now. And in 10 years, it's going to be even more advanced. So we'll be looking at AI now thinking, I can't believe people would fall for that. And that's a scary thought to have. So, yeah, I guess time will tell how it's going to be used. Like I said, I think true crime lovers are going to eat that shit up. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you. Give me your hot take.
So my first hot take, and I think it probably piggybacks off your one, I wrote down, we will lose all our privacy with AI. And I want to expand on this. We are now in a digital age, and I just want to say that I'm guilty of this. And this is why I thought of this one, because I do it, and it scared me that I did it myself. So call it your chat GPT, whatever you use these days. We are literally putting our names in for recommendations. We're putting areas in for recommendations on foods. When we talk to ChatGPT, I don't know if you have used the talk function yet, but the way they
Nah, never.
respond, well, the way they respond is very Gen Z. It's very much matching your type of energy. So it's picking up on personality cues. I have people in my circle who literally pick up ChatGPT and will read out maybe text messages or read out things that have happened and said, hey, can you validate me? Can you help me,
No
come to
way.
terms with this? Exactly. Right. So not only does ChatGPT know your name, it knows what's going on in your life. It now knows people in your life's name. You're putting in your development plan maybe to just go, oh, help me out with that. It knows where you work, it knows who your boss's name is, what role you have, and I don't think people are realizing how little things where we're going, oh, day to day, a little bit of help, are actually making us lose our private lives.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I knew that ChatGPT had this voice command functionality, but I've never been one to use it because I just thought it was a little bit weird talking to a robot and having some sort of iRobot relationship with it, which it's scary that a lot of people are relying on this feature too much. And again, as you mentioned, with the privacy point of view, I don't think we'll know the impacts of this until much further down the track. And
Mm.
that's also what's concerning because people are willingly giving this thing information and more information. And it's just this, it's a learning model. That's why they give it to us for free. So it can just continually absorb information and spit out what it needs to. It's almost like a curated algorithm at this point. It's telling you what you want to hear.
A
Uh,
hundred
fuck.
percent.
It makes me wonder if people are just losing their critical thinking ability because if you're relying on this thing to validate your feelings, why can't you just think for yourself?
One thing I do want to use as an example is Snapchat, and when people were using Snapchat, I mean, obviously still are, I'm sure the 18-year-olds are eating it up, but we're obviously not in that bracket anymore that are using it. No judgment if you
No.
are. But I remember when at the time people were sending inappropriate pictures using this platform, and then the Snapchat CEOs would come out and go, I don't know why you guys think that this is a private kind of platform or channel. We can see
Yeah, I
everything that
do
you're
remember
doing.
this too.
Mm. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually think ChatGPT or AI and the likes are going to become like this. So I would really like to emphasize to anyone listening, this is, I'm guilty. I need to listen to my own advice, but make sure you're watching what you actually put in, because I 100% know if I went into my chat GPT right now, it also could tell me how many macros and calories I'm eating because of how many things I put in that much and that frequently. And it could tell me exactly where I'm going. And it's really, really scary. So remember that there's other people on the other side of this that have access to this information. And we live in a time where all you have to do is pay for information. So just be really careful about what you're putting out there, would be my advice.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you're giving advice, but I'm not sure if anyone should really listen to you because you are a walking contradiction at this point.
Very true. I'm going to start doing it myself. So we'll all do it together.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I was reading something really interesting where people were talking about their opinions and thoughts on AI, and I read one
Mm.
that stood out to me, and this person commented that we're going to treat AI like the internet, where it was before the internet, life was like this, and after the internet, life is like what it is now. And they're saying with AI, we're going to look back and go, you know, how did we do the amount of things that we used to do? How was our productivity so high in certain areas without using AI? Think about this powerful tool that will cut time down by a fraction. It'll save costs. It'll, ultimately result in other people losing their jobs. It's this tool that we just don't know the extent of yet. And like you said, how much information are we willingly telling this thing because it's continually learning? And what are they doing with that data and information? It's scary stuff to see, and I hope that the government has our interests here and do some sort of regulations before it's too late.
For sure. I would love to hear your number two hot take.
Okay, my hot take number two. AI giving better mental health advice than most school counselors exposed that we put the least resourced people in charge of the most vulnerable ones and called it a system. Did we ever actually take youth mental health seriously or just seriously enough to look like we did?
I'm shocked. That is crazy. I am mind blown because we literally just did an episode on mental health and we talked about TikTok therapists and how there's all these people that aren't credible giving advice, and now I guess this is the second step or another variation of that point. Please go on because I am fascinated, intrigued, and everything in between.
Yeah, well, it goes into what you brought up before, right? How people were using the voice command function of ChatGPT to feel validated. So instead of going to a school counselor who I don't think is taking the issue super seriously, or maybe they're not giving the right advice, and we're going to keep going down this path. But the reason why I wrote this is because kids are using AI and ChatGPT and other, AI mental health services that are specifically dedicated to this to feel like they're being validated and not challenged. And I feel like we can come out and say, well, as if, what is the point of feeling validated instead of challenged? If you're feeling that way, don't you want a solution to your problem? No. How many people just want to bitch and moan just so that they can feel like their opinions are validated? And that is exactly what ChatGPT is doing. So I didn't have to use any mental health services when I was at school, but talking to those I know who did, they would go to the school counselor with their problem and they would leave with barely anything. If anything, they would either leave feeling worse or they would just have some resources that would go to another website that the counselor directed them to instead of the counselor giving their own advice or feedback. Where do you see this? Do you actually think we're
I
taking mental
mean,
health seriously?
this is really great because I didn't think about this angle at all. I think that I completely see where this could happen and I can see it happening. I brushed over an example at the start of the episode, but let me go a little bit deeper into it. It probably isn't mental health, but I think it comes into this whole advice and going and seeking something. So I know someone who was going through some issues with friendships, really
Mm.
bad issues with friendships, and basically had a little bit of a friend breakup and wanted to get some validation. I assume they went out to people within their circle and perhaps weren't getting the right what they wanted to hear, or perhaps did and wanted another perspective. So they literally used the chat function on ChatGPT and talked to it and explained the whole situation, uploaded screenshots of text messages, and basically said, tell me if I'm right or tell me if I'm wrong. What do you take and infer from this? What should I say? Where have I gone wrong? Should we end the friendship? Basically seeking advice like you would with a therapist. Now, where it gets a little bit crazy is obviously ChatGPT, like you said, will give you what you want to hear. That's what it's there for, right? It's an automatic tool that will validate your answers and make you feel good. They came back to ChatGPT and said, no, don't bullshit me. Tell me straight. Tell me straight. If I'm wrong, I want you to tell me. Be so for real with me. And it was kind of asking ChatGPT to do this thing that it can't do, which is show emotion.
Mm. Yeah,
And
it cannot.
it came back. It can't. And it came back and it said, no, I'm being so for real. Obviously, this isn't verbatim. I'm being so for real. I would tell you if you were wrong, but I think 100% you're right. I can see where this happened. I can see where X happened, Y happened. End of conversation. And I remember hearing that going, have we really gone to ChatGPT when we know it's not a tool for that to feel heard, to feel seen, to feel validated? Because one, maybe we don't have access to those resources. Maybe we're not getting adequate help or we have adequate resources around us. I think it becomes really scary, to your point, when it comes into systems like schooling, when kids are at such a developmental age and they need guardians and a guardian who is older who can help them and understand the world a little bit better. And then they're giving them advice that is so automated or sending them down this rabbit hole where we all know what they're like. They're not actually going to end up doing it. So, yeah, it's a really scary one. I think that's a really great hot take, to be honest. Let's see how it pans out, but I just don't understand how we can expect a tool like this to start showing emotion.
No, and I think emotion is the biggest thing here. The school system itself doesn't change a lot. You know, when you think about the last probably 100 years, so many aspects of our society have changed, and then you look at the school system and it hasn't. The only thing really is technology's been implemented, and how AI is going to be implemented from schooling is yet to be determined, really. I know I've got some friends who are teachers at school, and I straight up ask them, do you use AI to either create work for your students or to mark? They personally said they don't use it for any marking, but they do use it at times to create work for the kids. So if the kids aren't expected to use AI, but the teachers are using it, at what point are we getting in this massive muddled reality where no one's really thinking for themselves? Everyone's just kind of doing what the AI told them. And the AI can't really think for itself either because it's a learning model and it's just getting what other people are saying and transforming those ideas and those phrases into what it thinks is applied for you. As a student, I put myself in those shoes again where if I was struggling, maybe I would feel more comfortable going and talking to an AI model because one, it's got no judgment, it's not real. Two, maybe in a false perception of reality, I might think it does know what's best for me. Because
Mm.
as you mentioned, it talks to you with this Gen Z language. It's really relatable. It's almost like it can be your friend. And that is a danger in and of itself because how many people are relying on this AI, chatbot thing to form their own friendships outside of, real life. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
scary reality that I think we're facing.
I mean, something that I can hear from what you're saying is maybe people are finding it that it's a space that is safer than real life. I mean, is that a benefit? How bullying is in schools, maybe this is a space kind of like how social media played that role at one point, or group chats or anonymous group chats or whatever the platforms were at the time when social media first came out. Maybe that's what AI is to these people, is a way to get away. And we know that ChatGPT will give us the answer we want and make us feel good. So perhaps that's what people are turning to now for
Yeah,
advice.
and I don't really blame them because for a fraction or no cost, you can get the same or maybe better, depending on your circumstance, advice than a therapist will give you. And like I said, I believe that people don't want to feel challenged, they want to feel validated. So if you're going to talk to this thing for free and it's going to tell you what you want, almost sounds like the perfect recipe here. Why wouldn't you use it? So yeah, it's an interesting hot take, and I'm sure our viewers are gonna have their own thoughts to it. But that's enough of my hot take. Your turn.
So it's funny because I feel like every hot take that you do, mine kind of piggybacks that. So it's actually a very nice segue. So, my hot take number two, the education system and generations coming up will be the dumbest due to AI.
Oh,
I, I feel like saying dumbest was really aggressive, but I'm so sorry.
yeah, maybe, maybe
Yeah.
because I think to my own school situations here. If I had the opportunity to use I would have used it a lot more than I do now because there are so many times where you have this hard essay, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to write. You can now just put your ideas into ChatGPT and it can either give you the whole essay, which I'm pretty sure schools go through a fact checking process, so you can't use the whole thing. But it could give you bullet point starters, it could give you links to go and start your research, so many different things where your critical thinking and your understanding of how you go about doing research is almost a skill that's going to be lost now. Or maybe the other effect's going to happen because AI is going to be such a handy tool and such a widely used tool. Maybe the way things are going to work is we don't need that critical thinking as much anymore.
I mean, to expand on my thinking on this hot take, for me, where this came from was the fact that AI, to a lot of what you just said, means there will be no unique thinking anymore, no unique or creative thoughts. We now are seeing the use of AI for as small things as text messages, emails, posts on social media. If we're asking AI to do such mundane, small jobs that shouldn't exert so much energy from us, how is that going to help us as a generation continue to utilize our brain capacity? I
Well, it
remember,
doesn't.
well, yeah, right. And I remember, I mean, we went to uni together, right? So this is pretty topical in terms of education systems. I remember some of those assignments that we did. Some of those essays they asked us to produce were over 1,000 word essays, all citations, all unique
Yep.
thinking. You know, I think about theses and those people doing postgrad and how they have to come to terms with a unique new question and way of thought. Yes, they can use research that's already developed, but they perhaps have to come with this new way and new thought. I also remember a lot of the times we would just be asked to do reflections, right? On things that were
Mm.
so small, like an overseas trip. And I remember at the time going, oh my God, what am I going to reflect? How do I write that? But I'm glad I did it. And it's crazy to look back at some of those essays we produced and think back and analyze the writing that we did because now I'm afraid that the generations to come up, the generation for us when we have kids, what that looks like, because I don't want
Mm.
this to be a tool that can't be used. I do feel like there is a role for it, and let's go into that. But I think the over reliance on it when it comes to an age where you are developing, you are learning those creative, critical thinking, strategic skills, if you're just constantly using I mean, when do you have the time to have unique thoughts? We know AI spits out things that it's pre-learned. So your thought now becomes the same thought as thousands other people.
We're definitely going to see a dumber generation for a little bit, no doubt about that at all. The brain is arguably the most important muscle, and if you don't use it, it's going to get weaker. The fact that there are kids out there and even adults now who have this over reliance on AI and can't even pen to paper their thoughts and feelings is scary because no AI platform is going to generate your thoughts and feelings back to you. You are the
Mm.
only person that knows how you're truly feeling and how you truly think. And that could definitely be a skill that we see is lost for a period of time. Where I see it as actually a benefit, maybe going the other way, where people are actually going to stop using AI, is the current earliest generation of the current Australian social media ban. And I'm thinking along the lines of if they're not on social media at such a young age and they're at the age of 5 or 6, they're almost going to be growing up in an era similar to the early 90s, 2000s, where they maybe don't have a smartphone at all because there's going to be no need for it if you can't get on social media. Therefore, they're not going to be exposed to AI content. Therefore, they're not going to be using an AI platform, and those skills are going to start developing again. So we might have a gap full of dumbasses, and then we'll be, back to the way it was, and it maybe course corrects. I could be wrong, but that's just how I see things happening, and I hope I'm right.
I find that really interesting because something that I thought while we're both kind of talking about this was we use AI to be more time efficient. So if we think about students, young people using AI for assignments or for schoolwork, that frees up their time a bit more, right?
Mm.
But
Yeah,
then
it
when we
does.
see this generation, they're constantly online. And yes, I understand there's a ban, but we all know people know how to get around that. And it's not just about being on social media, it's also about consuming media, etc. So in my head, I'm thinking if you're not creating unique thoughts because you use AI and then you've got all this extra time, but then you spend it on your phone or on a device or watching TV instead of being outside, which is the trends that we're seeing happening with this generation, what and what I'm really interested to see is where we're going to end up. And every generation has its little stereotype, and it's not until they get a bit older that you go, oh yeah, classic boomer or classic millennial, classic Gen Z. I'm really curious to see what these upcoming generations end up becoming. And because I do feel bad for them. They are brought into the world where technology is so advanced and it's moving at the speed and the pace of light. And if you're not part of it, then you almost have FOMO. And there is this kind of stigma where if you're not in, you're completely out. And people don't want to be on the outs. So there is a part of me that feels really bad because your hands are almost tied to not be part of this movement of AI and technology.
Yeah, I was at the gym and I was talking to one of the boys there, and they listened to a podcast where some AI expert was on. If you can even call yourself an AI expert, let's be real here. And they were saying that the advancements of technology within the next 10 years that we would typically see are now going to be in a 1 to 2 year basis. So the advancements are going to happen at a much rapid rate, and you can't predict where things are going to go. So I guess right now we talk about everything that we're worried about. We have these hot takes where we think about, the deep fakes, crime, propaganda, people using it for therapists, etc. The list goes on. We could just be theorizing, and maybe AI will actually be used for a lot of good. I would love to see AI find the cure for cancer or other diseases that
Mm.
us as humans might not have the capability to understand. I think there's a lot of positive use cases for AI, such as what I just mentioned, that hopefully it's implemented for those aspects versus everyday use.
I mean, nothing to add to that, but yeah, I mean, completely agree. I think we look at the negatives, but as you said, we're in this very much beta phase of AI where it is so new, and I would only hope that all the knowledge we're feeding it and all the engineers who are helping generate the next kind of iterations of it, I hope that it does come out in a good way and we can see efficiencies and we can use it for the better because it is such a great tool. Let's call it what it is. It helps so much in so many ways, and it would be a shame that it is taken out of context and basically abused.
Mm, yeah, it definitely would be. But to keep things rolling, the final hot take from me: everyone using AI to write the perfect job application exposed that when everyone is perfect on paper, perfect means nothing. You make yourself perfect, and the most human thing you could do now is show up with a typo.
Yeah, wow. Very, very true. Very, very true. I mean, it's so interesting, right? Because it kind of goes into what we were talking about before about unique thoughts. We're all sounding picture perfect on any kind of serious piece of work, whether it's LinkedIn posts, whether it's development plans, job applications, that we're feeling quite one dimensional.
Yeah, one dimensional is a good word for it. I remember when we were at uni and we had a specific class talking about getting into the workforce for the first time, and the tutor continually reiterated to us, do not submit a cover letter with a typo. But now, if everyone is so perfect, how do you stand out? Well, I feel like that if we're using AI to write our cover letters and they're using AI to screen the cover letters, what's actually happening here is everything just a big piece of, a false set of reality and potentially security. Are you actually getting the right person for your role? I know probably not everyone is using AI to write their cover letters, or not every organization is using AI to vet them, but a lot of them are, and vice versa. It makes me wonder because I'm always in the job market every 12, 18 months just because of the nature of my contracting work. Now I'm genuinely starting to think, do I write the cover letter and deliberately leave a typo in there? But I'm worried it could be the other way where it's you could have checked this through ChatGPT or Claude or any other program. You were too lazy to do that and you left a typo in. Automatic red flag. You're in the pile for the bin. So, yeah, the one dimensional thing is really concerning. And I don't know how we stand out anymore unless you do a video cover letter or a video resume. It's a bit of a farce, to be honest.
Actually don't see or know what the solve is because, I mean, if we think about it from the other perspective, the company that is hiring you, they're using AI tools to scan the resumes, to look at the cover letters. So even from their perspective, if you are putting in this picture perfect resume, it probably isn't picked up that you're not what the kind of candidate they're looking for because AI is flagging it as a good resume and to proceed. So, I
Mm.
mean, maybe there's a little bit of a challenge for those recruiters or those people hiring where it's, I understand time efficiencies and how long it does take, but is there a way that you can, one, from the high employee perspective, how do you cut through? But then from the hiring perspective, what can you do to get someone in that isn't just using those tools, or what do you do? Because maybe they are just after your stock standard Joe that does put things into AI. I mean,
Yeah.
with how tough the job market is that the way to go?
Well, that's the thing. The job market is so tough, and I'm sick and tired of these jobs demanding more and more from the candidate and us not getting anything in return. I've applied for so many jobs over the last, couple of years, and the amount that don't even let you know that you're not successful is really disrespectful because yes, some I have used AI tools to write, but others I have genuinely wrote and put the time in, made the effort, and then you don't even hear back. So I get it. Time is money. Your time is precious for yourself. I don't blame people for using AI because they're going through the same experiences I just described. Why waste your time writing a 2 hour cover letter when you can chuck it into AI? It'll get it done in 5 minutes. You make a couple touch ups, if that, and send it through just to get the same result that you're rejected and you don't hear anyway. It's probably the biggest gripe that I have, and it just goes into them demanding a lot more from us and us not having the ability to stand out anymore.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it stems beyond just work, right? It stems to the tone of voice that you show up with on social media if you're using AI tools. On LinkedIn, I see all these posts and I think to myself, that's surely used with AI, which again, I don't think it's a bad thing because you do want to use it to help with grammar, to help with English. But then to your point, when everyone starts using it and we all are starting to sound the same, we're all using commas in the same way, we all, asking questions
Mm.
first, doing the bullet points the same way. How do you then, how are we going to consume media the same if everything's going to be the same?
Yeah, and now genuinely, you look out for the typos, right? You automatically realize, oh, someone actually wrote this themselves, and it's almost like this sigh of relief where it's like, oh, cool, good, this is authentic, and we keep craving the authenticity now because nothing's really authentic. Platforms like this are where we're talking and just thinking off the cuff and just riffing. But when you go and you're reading social media or you're reading someone's resume or whatever it may be, it's getting harder and harder to differentiate, unfortunately. And that is a shame. And I don't think that's the best use of the tool.
100%. And on the contrary to that, we can tell when people are using these tools because I was even saying to you the other day, ChatGPT spits out this kind of hyphen thing every so often as a paragraph break. And so
Yeah.
whenever I see those in any text, in work context, I always know to myself, this person has put this in AI. And it's so funny when you work with professional kind of agencies or brands or whatever, and then you see something like that, it almost throws me a little bit. And I go, oh my God, you've used AI. Should I be offended by that? And I was even talking to my partner's mum, and she was telling me that she was giving advice to someone, and they then sent her something, and she said, hey, hot tip. When words are highlighted like that, I know you're using, is it Claude or Cloud? I know you're using that
Yeah,
AI
I think
platform.
Claude, yeah, yeah.
So it's funny that we can now even identify when people are using it because we're really just copy and pasting it. That's how lazy we've gotten. We're not even checking
Yeah,
the text.
yeah. Maybe things will go full circle. Time will tell. But yeah, I'm ready for your final hot take if you have one to share. Otherwise, yeah, let's do it.
It's so funny because we didn't even plan this, but this next hot take also kind of talks about work. So we're clearly very in sync and perfectly matched to be co hosts because we could have not
Clearly.
planned this.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. This is good.
hot take number three: corporate companies are being too conservative and slow to adopt AI. Why are they so scared? I put a little question
Ooh.
at the end.
So you reckon they're being too slow to adopt AI? Why?
So this is my thinking, right? This is where this thought stemmed from. I saw on the news the other day, and I don't want to say the field of work he was in because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was very high up, almost kind of army type high up, right? Or very high up in the government. So a very critical job, not only just in general, but to the country. And I believe it was in cybersecurity as well. And it
Hmm.
came out that he was uploading various company details. Obviously, being in a job like cybersecurity, you have privilege and
Oh,
access to a lot of information. And he was
yeah.
uploading it and putting it into ChatGPT. And it was
No,
found out because
naughty.
obviously, yeah. And obviously, you use it work computers. So everything's monitored, especially at that level and especially at that caliber of job. So that had me thinking, I don't actually think, and this is no one's fault because the nature of AI is it came out and it came out fast, and like
Mhm.
technology and digital, it's constantly ever changing and it's impossible to keep up. So I'm not blaming, companies and corporations for this, but I think that they do have a corporate responsibility to take a second and go, how does my company react and interact with AI? So I think we need to be better at teaching people responsible use of AI and, yeah, whether we're allowed to use it or not, essentially.
Mhm. Yeah, I wonder if it's a case of high level organizations dealing with sensitive security, documentation, if either they create their own AI capability or platform, or someone creates a secure AI platform, kind of like Microsoft Teams, and it's just dedicated to that organization, and all the data is stored within that, but it doesn't go anywhere else. I'm sure we're probably going to see something like that if something like that doesn't already exist. Could be completely wrong, and maybe there's a listener out there who's got that experience in their job that they can maybe touch on.
Mm.
One thing that I do find really interesting is you reckon it's slow to adopt, but all the discourse I'm seeing is people being scared that AI is going to take their job. And a hot take I have is if AI is going to take your job, you aren't that efficient in your job. And how much are you really doing if an AI can replace you?
I want you to say it for the people in the back, because I think if you don't know what AI can do and what it's capable of, why are you scared of this taking your job? AI, as we said before, it is pre learned information. And look, that's at the stage we are at now. We can't predict where it's going to get in the next 1 to 5 years. It could completely change. But if you are threatened by AI taking your job, then to your point, you're not very efficient. It should be potentially something that aids your job and your success
Yeah.
100%, from a time perspective, from, like we said before, maybe a grammar, or, getting things in layman's terms, sense checking without obviously uploading sensitive information. But everything still requires human touch. Another example I will use, I hate those AI chat bots on, like bank websites, or for any kind of website like booking.com, or any kind of travel website, you name it, any kind of service, because we have completely lost the human touch and ability to really communicate what we need from them and what they need from us. There are some
Mm.
instances where, for example, I think Uber does it quite well, and that's just my experience with it. Someone might have a different experience, but I think that there is something that we can do to leverage it, but not completely remove the use of a human in that role.
Yeah, and those AI chatbots are dumb as hell anyway. They never help you out. All they do is just read from their system and spit the information back to you. Or worse, they say, here's where you can find that information on our website. Like, thank you very much. I know that. I need someone with technical support, please. So, yeah, that sort of stuff is a joke. And like we keep saying, and we're probably beating a dead horse, time is going to tell here. But what I will say is if a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, then it's on the government to look after us. And what I mean by that is the government cannot afford a society where a lot of people are out of work and there's no jobs to fill those people, because otherwise then there's a massive hole in society and everyone's just a bludger, and society will sort of crumble around it a little bit and there'll be mass poverty, etc. So not necessarily saying that the government is going to support you by giving you handouts, but I think there'll be some rules and regulations in place to stop a mass, firing in terms of AI. Like, it's not going to be this dystopian reality that some people are saying it is. But time will tell. Now, are you ready for the audience segment?
Yes, I am ready.
Okay. So, as I mentioned at the start, you and I haven't seen these. My girlfriend gave these to me just before we started recording. And I have a little preface here. So my understanding is there's a hot take and then a little bit of information here, and not everything in this the audience agrees with. They've just got from different aspects of the internet or their thoughts or whatever. So should be a good segment and it might keep us on our toes. Let's see how we go. Hot take number one. If love is love, why is there so much backlash when people say they're actually falling in love with AI? We often say people should be free to love whoever they want, but when a romantic relationship involves AI or chatbots, many people suddenly feel uncomfortable. maybe people aren't as accepting as they think they are, which is pretty funny because some people make acceptance their whole personality.
Are you kidding? Is this really
People
one?
people are all about love who you want to love until it's a robot.
People aren't going to take us seriously after this.
Okay. I mean, hey, a genuine audience listener submitted this, so let's break it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Love is
understand
love.
if love is love. I get that. And there's a difference between loving an inanimate object to loving an actual person with, thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, etc. I don't know if we're ever going to see it becoming acceptable to marry a robot just because that's pretty fucking weird, to be honest with you. But maybe it could be something as like people love their animal. Like, for example, people love their fish and the fish just swims in a bowl all day. People could say, well, the fish doesn't communicate with you. Why do you love it? And the AI can communicate with you. So maybe there's some sort of relationship thing there. But fuck, that question really threw me off, to be honest.
I know, I can tell you're like trying to make up a way to reason with this. I I think that I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I agree, love is love. And you know what? In the world we're living, never say never. And that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, never say never. Stranger things have happened. So I guess watch this space. Number
And if you
number two.
and
What
if
what are we
you
going to be on here?
wait, can I just say, if you do like a robot or love a robot, can we officiate the wedding?
Sure, I would love that. No censorship wedding officiation. Hit us up.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Hot take number two. I can't read these without laughing. AI makes. Jesus Christ. Okay. AI makes dumb people look smarter to other dumb people, but even dumber people to smart people. Hang on, let me read this again. AI makes dumb people look smarter to other dumb people, but even dumber to smart people. Okay. AI can generate really polished, fluffy writing that sounds impressive. But if someone can't actually judge the quality of the ideas, they'll think it's brilliant. Meanwhile, people who know what they're looking at can often spot the AI markers and realize there's not much substance behind it. You can always tell when a dumb person has used AI. Okay,
Well,
hot
I would
take.
I mean, we kind of talked on this. I think that this is probably another iteration of us speaking about how everyone's what they're producing is now so polished and we all sound the same way, and that we can now identify when certain markers like the hyphen are used. We know if ChatGPT's been used. I will say, I don't know if I think a dumb person uses AI. I think that a normal, average, smart, intelligent person can still use AI because I think it's the way that you interact with the platform and what you use it for that maybe categorizes you in one of that. I do like the point on it's interesting if someone, isn't as bright, then potentially they think you're the smartest person in the world, and that if you're super smart and you can identify it. But yeah, I mean, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we did talk about it on the episode already about how you can identify things. I think I think that there are some dumb people who do use AI and think that they are smart, but I see AI as a tool, and if you can use it properly and work out how to leverage it for what you're trying to achieve, it can be really effective for, generating spreadsheets, interpreting different aspects of data, potentially finding cures to diseases that humans don't have the understanding to do yet in that aspect. But yeah, if you're using AI to type a text message to your friend or work out why you feel a certain way, then maybe you should probably not use AI and perhaps do a little bit of self development to, get the skill set yourself.
Hmm.
Interesting though, and I feel like well, not the first hot take, but the second hot take we kind of already discussed. So it's good that we're on the thought process of our audience here.
Hmm.
Number three, older people who refuse to learn AI don't get to complain about being left behind or use their age as an excuse. At some point, it's just laziness. Every time a new technology shows up, there's a group of people, usually boomers, who immediately decide they're not even going to try and learn it. Instead, they complain about it, avoid it, or act like it's impossible to understand. Meanwhile, plenty of older people and younger people, because let's remember it's new to everyone over the age of 5, are learning AI just fine. So, if someone refuses to engage with it and then complains that the world is moving too fast, that might be more about their bad attitude than age. That is an interesting hot take, isn't it?
I see both sides to the argument. I completely agree that, it's new to everyone. So we all need to learn if we want to be up with current affairs in the world and make sure we're on top of technology. I mean, to the point before on getting text messages and scam, that normally happens to the vulnerable elderly people. And if they were more in tune, then they would know that that wasn't happening. But I will say, when it comes to communication and when it comes to interaction outside of technology, something that I do love that the older generations have always done has been out there living. And I'm not saying that we don't, but we're doing it from our phone and we might scroll and see someone in Spain and then we think that we have traveled because we watched a video on it. And so I agree to an extent where they have a role to continue to be up to date, but then I think that what kind of I don't think it's fair to say that we need to constantly be on our phones and technology. I think the older people, when it comes to outside, do it better than us.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there's a real concern that if someone's on their phone and sees someone who's traveled to Spain and they think that they've traveled to Spain, they think they've traveled to Spain themselves. Like, you should probably get off your phone.
Well, they do.
I would never be friends with somebody like that.
People are weird, man.
Yeah, look, that type of person needs to be checked out. I think the one thing I kind of cling on to with this hot take is if you're over the age of 5, then it's new to everybody, which is completely true. I think about my grandparents who are very, stereotypical, only use a mobile phone to talk to their family, can't text on it, and occasionally scroll on Facebook and, are unfortunately victims to AI cringe videos and AI slop content.
Mhm.
They're in their late 70s. I don't see them needing to adopt to AI. But if someone's in their 50s or 40s or maybe early 60s, for example, and still in the workplace, then yeah, 100%. Don't complain about technology moving too quickly if you're not willing to learn it and adapt. Because if you're that age, this is not the first time you've seen a huge technology uh, advancement. You would have seen the internet come through, and maybe they didn't understand that, but were forced to adapt. So I see AI as being very similar to that, but interesting hot take. Very interesting.
Very
Do you have anything else
interesting.
to add before I go to the final one?
No, take us home.
All right. For the final audience hot take, if someone using AI outperforms you at work, the problem probably isn't the AI, it's you, mate. AI is increasingly becoming a productivity tool. In some cases, it may simply amplify people who already know how to think strategically. If you pride yourself in not using AI because you think that's a flex for some reason, then you can't be mad that someone looks better than you because they applied their intelligence in an efficient way. AI is the future. So if you're ignoring that, be prepared to not be as valuable. And this is exactly what I already touched on. If you're worried about AI taking your job, then you're probably not that productive or effective to begin with. And that's probably the harsh reality that you need to face.
100%. I completely agree. If we think about it being a productivity tool, if someone gets 10 pieces of work and you get 10 pieces of work and one person uses AI, they're going to get their work done quite quicker than you are and get more, which means they're automatically going to advance. You, however, are still stuck on piece number three. So yeah, we've touched on it and I don't have anything else to add to that.
No, one thing I will touch on though is like the internet was for us, AI is, what we're going to be up and coming with. And from what we saw, those who understood the internet really quickly were able to benefit off of it in a really, key number of ways, whether that be for productivity
Mm.
growth, going viral on early social media platforms or early internet days and making a lot of money. AI can be something like that for us. So,
Mhm.
my advice is understand the tools and work out how you can leverage them to be successful. Otherwise, you are going to fall behind. Be ahead of the curve for once. You have the opportunity because it is so new. Utilize it to your benefit.
Before we close off, the only thing I will say is that it is quite scary to see how much AI is coming about. And I think it is important to keep yourself up to date and educated. I'm not saying you have to use the tool, but at least know what it's capable of. Stay safe because I think what we're seeing is that, when Google was a thing, that was our first search engine. TikTok came out, then we see people moving from looking up things into Google into TikTok. And now what we're seeing is that people are now going to ChatGPT and using it almost as their source of truth and Google. So let's just stay ahead of the curve. We'll see where I guess AI ends up in the next couple of years. It'll be really, really interesting. I mean, it'll be interesting if we're still around doing podcasts and where it ends up then and whether we do kind of a part two on that. But those were my kind of final closing thoughts.
This is a really interesting topic to discuss, one that I think has been quite fun, to be honest. I've loved this. And the new format's been quite good and interesting and yeah, made things a little bit spicy. So hopefully people like it. Let us know your thoughts. We're going to stick with this format for a little bit longer. If you want to be a part of the hot take submissions, keep an eye out on our social media platforms where we're going to let you know the next episode topic and give you an opportunity to submit your hot take. So if you want to stay tuned, follow us on the at no censorship social media platforms and be sure to give us a like rating as well. We're only 3 episodes in, the support's been phenomenal, but we're young and we're still growing. So any like ratings, shares really helps us out a lot if you do enjoy the content. So yeah, stay tuned for more and we will catch you guys on the next No Censorship episode.
Bye.